not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. This is God's word. Brothers and sisters in Christ, those of us who are of vintage years, and maybe some who are younger, may remember Mr. Rogers. That he's still around. Maybe you remember Mr. Rogers, maybe you remember his sweaters, and maybe you remember his little iconic kind of song. Listen to the words that he sang. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Could you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood. Never understood what that beauty wood was. I never looked it up, even now as I was going through prayer. In the beauty wood. A neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, won't you be mine? Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Won't you please? Said that quite a bit, won't you please be my neighbor? Basically, what we're talking about today in our worship service is exactly what Mr. Rogers is talking about, is that we will do everything to be a neighbor to somebody else, and even going out of our way to say, and to do it, and to be neighbors. And the other aspect, if you have to think of something in this sermon other than Mr. Rogers, it's being able to say what Jesus is really telling us in this text is jaw dropping. In what sense? People should be able to look at us and what we do and how we respond and really drop their jaws and say, this is how you respond? Why do you respond this way when things are happening to you? It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well, kind of. Kind of, because we know it is not going to be easy to live as a Christian, and whether you're a Christian or not, it's not easy to live in a world where there is evil. But for us Christians, it is kind of, because we get to show, isn't it great? We get to show kindness to other people under circumstances that most people wouldn't even consider wanting to show kindness. Let me start with an example to think about as we go through in our contemplating this. Maybe you've heard this, you've heard what is happening with, I guess she used to be an American citizen, who is just interviewed in Syria. She had joined ISIS. And so she was part of ISIS, and now she wants to come back to America. And she is ready, from the little clips that I've read, she's ready to even do jail time. She's talked about she was young, she was 19 when she went over and did that commitment. And she's had, from all accounts, a rough and horrible life. Now, forgetting the politics aside, forgetting, all right, what is a country we should do, forget that. What I'm saying to us as individual Christians, what would be your response in saying, look, for all things equal, forgetting the other country aspects, and I'm not even sure about that, that's for another discussion, but would you be willing to say, here's a young woman who has confessed what she has done, she wants to come back, would you let her be your neighbor if that were possible, even though in the organization to which you belong? I hope we would in a heartbeat say, yes, she can be my neighbor. And again, there may be consequences for what she has done. But if she is willing, if she has said forgiveness, and there's nothing else, it's not that we have a blind mask on to make a mask on so that we're blind to what's happening. The whole idea of forgiveness is being able to say yes no matter what. Would you let her be your neighbor? Ultimately, she needs to know about Jesus Christ. Now, you take an example like that, and it trickles down into everything as we go through this. And there's 2 points we make as we quickly go through the text of Jesus that Paul had for us today. Number 1, what's the motivation for doing all this? We don't start with the motivation. Paul, in a few verses before this, speaks about, in view of God's mercy, offer up yourselves as living sacrifices, because of God's mercy in saving us in Jesus Christ. The only reason we do what we do is because, Jesus, you have forgiven me. And it gets back to everything in my life. I'm willing to take a risk as a Christian. We are, because, Lord, you've forgiven me for everything I have ever done in my life. It's already forgiven. That's the joy of knowing the forgiveness of sins and looking. You know, when we have a silent confession in church on Sunday, it is being able to say, Lord, let me look at my life and I truly do see how much I have sinned. And if I have forgiveness, then Lord, how in the world can I not forgive anybody else? And let me have a different attitude that is risky. Being a Christian is risky, not because of the junk that may come our way, or living up in a society that is difficult to live in, or at least to be able to live. It's hard just living in this world with the morality that's around us. But it's risky in the sense I'm willing to make relationships. I'm willing to do things that under normal circumstances are jaw-dropping that people wouldn't believe and would never think about wanting to do. And so what's amazing about this text is whether Paul is talking about enemies, and that's what he's going to get into right away, people that persecute us. Someone who wants to hurt us specifically, not just in general, but because we're Christians. Taking from that to people living in a general society, and some stranger that we know, or some stranger that we don't know may come up to us. The circumstances are there, and then it trickles down into my own family, my own workplace, my own school, my own congregation. All of these things, everything that's in here applies to all those circumstances in general, even as Paul is speaking about particulars. So we keep that in mind. I am a forgiven sinner. That's why I'm able to do that. That's what motivates me. The Holy Spirit motivating me to do jaw-dropping things and being able to, for others to see that. And that's why I can say it is a beautiful neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well, kind of, because no matter what junk comes our way, I am able to show kindness in return. Do we follow these things? Look at what Paul is saying. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Do we practice that? This is someone who wants to hurt us. Do we turn around and give them a blessing and pray for them? That's exactly what Jesus was saying in the gospel. He said, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. Those right there are jaw-dropping, isn't it? We have the opportunity when someone says, I don't love Jesus Christ, I don't like you, and I don't like anything you stand for, to be able to turn it around and pray for them and wish that God would give them an opportunity to have a change of heart and believe in their Savior Jesus Christ. Not easy, is it? Paul goes on and he speaks, and he comes now speaking to us who are dealing with each other, mostly believers at this point. Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. I need to get to know people. I need to know people, and when they're rejoicing, if somebody has something that I wish I may have had, if someone finds a spouse and I wish I had a spouse, I really want to rejoice with them. I want to put my heart into it. If they have a career that, well, I wish I had a career. I wish I had something that I really want, and I really wish I could have that, and someone else, they just got a fantastic job that they like. Am I really willing to rejoice with them? And now it even gets hard. Say, your next door neighbor isn't a believer, and they live a life that you know isn't even close to what God's word is. Not even close to following it. And yet they're blessed in some way. Are you able to rejoice with them? And even being able to rejoice, but then also saying, building up a relationship, we're so thankful that you were able to have this come to you. Man, that was great that you were able to get that promotion. It's not easy. What happens if the guy at work, who you know is a stinker, gets ahead of the job ahead of you, and pandered and did everything else, may even been dishonest, but was able to work his way through? Oh, that's even harder. And that even gets a little bit trickier, doesn't it? But it's still being able to say, if there's something there that I can be positive about, and maybe it's not a matter of rejoicing if I know he got something in a dishonest way, but it's not being able to say, I want nothing to do with you. I still want to pray for him and bless him and have God bless him with a change of heart, rather than just cutting off the relationship. That is not easy. Do I mourn with people? But I've got to be involved in their life. If someone is hurting, if somebody is coming down and dealing with a sickness, do I think about them? Do I mourn with them? Is it something that's a part of me that I care about other people? If someone does lose a loved one, do I follow up with it over time? Do I think about other people in their circumstances where I can fit a need? And so, yes, it's not a wonderful day, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well, kind of. Well, bad things happen in this world, but it's good that it's kind of because I can give kindness back in return. Live in harmony, Paul says. Really what he's talking about, respect. Respect, literally, it's more about respect. Look, respect in the same way. Live in harmony. Respect in the same way when you look at each other. Respect in the same way. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. We look at our own lives too and be able to say, God, do I look down on anybody because of the circumstances they're in? You're right. Some people, they need, it's their own fault. But they need us to be involved with that rather than just pushing it off. But if I ever get to a point in my life where I think that because I have this position or I have this education or I've been someplace the longest or I'm the one who really people really should look up to me, if that's my attitude, yeah, people maybe should look at us as role models and try to do that. But if I'm going around looking at myself and who I am and really think that I am somebody that's important, how can that be, Paul saying? Not to be conceited, not to be proud. Remember what Jesus said elsewhere in the Gospel of St. Luke. When he noticed how guests picked the places of honor, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. If so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, give this person your seat. Then humiliated, you'll have to take then you will have to take the least important place. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to you, friend, move up to a better place. Then you will be honored in the presence of all the guests. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. When you give a luncheon or dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or sisters, your relatives, or your rich neighbors. If you do, they will invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. Doesn't mean we can't invite people that are rich, but Jesus isn't talking about that. What he's simply saying is don't make that your exclusive thing. Be willing, go out of our way to be able to help within our own congregation, within our community ultimately. We can't do everything, obviously, for everybody. But plenty of our brothers and sisters around the world, we're looking at in the bulletin, even seeing people from Uganda and the opportunities that we now have in Uganda, much less to say about Vietnam and the building our seminary there, the way those people live. It's not just spiritual, but they have poverty too. What do you do about all those things? So I want nothing to do with it, but I don't want to associate with that. I let them take care of themselves. You know, it's not bad for young people to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Not that you have to, but to show respect. How do you show respect to people? If you've got a serious disagreement with somebody, how do you treat them? Do you still treat them with respect, even though you may have nothing to do with it for the reason that they are, but willing to show an open door to show a better way? Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but be ready to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. Do not overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. It's not a duck and cover kind of thing. Oh, here's evil, I'm going to get away from it, and that's it. I'm going to run away from evil. I got to come back with good. Do we understand the depth of what Paul was saying, what we as Christians to do? When things come against us, I go back with good. I go back with kindness. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well, kind of. It's kind of, yeah, it's bad because evil can come to us. But I'm going going to overcome it with good. When we have a spouse, when the spouse may say something that angers us, how do we deal with that? We'll say that in a second here when Paul talks about revenge. It all kind of fits in together with what is being said. We know young people, we know teenagers, we know even other people. We've talked about this before many times, but do we follow through with it? If I have my brother or sister or somebody does something with me, what's the first thing that comes out? They point the finger at me, I'm going to point the finger back at them. They get me in trouble, I'm going to get them in trouble. It's right back one from the other. I don't overcome each. It isn't just simply saying, oh, I'm so young. Or, look, I can't do this. We can't do this? What is Paul preaching to? He's preaching to every single one of us. It makes a difference. If we have differences with one another, how do we overcome that? It's with an attitude that's still going to be good. It's still that's uplifting. It's still looking for peace among each other. And that's a jaw dropper. You really expect me, when somebody is evil to me, that I'm going to come back and do good or try to do good to them? It doesn't mean that we get abused. It doesn't mean that if someone wants to steal from us that we automatically steal. Jesus isn't talking about that in his gospel. Let them steal from us. But what Jesus is teaching, because the culture was, look, you can do tit for tat. You can get back at them. You go ahead, get back. It's all right. But Jesus said, no personal revenge. Don't seek personal revenge. Be willing to have something bad happen to you if you're trying to do something good. It should almost put us to shame, shouldn't it? At times we look at how easy we can take that route. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my brother, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay. Paul's quoting from Deuteronomy. Then he quotes from Proverbs. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Quoting from Proverbs.